name. Well, well, well. Look who we have here. Another one of these eluukkanen live streams. Someone told them there are more interesting things in the world, but you know, of course, I'm tuning in to look at eluukkanen live streams when he does these gameplay things. He actually works with RPG Maker. And what is this RPG Maker? Well, RPG Maker is a tool that you can use to make your dream adventures come true with electronic format. Indeed, a video game of sorts. I got excited about this thing so long ago when there was the RPG Maker VX, but now it has evolved to RPG Maker MV. Yes, we can even develop to mobile phones if we want to with that. Yeah, mobile phones. And today we're going to be making a game with us, and it's going to be a different one. You might notice when you follow these things that we always do a different project each time. Of course, we are sometimes returning to the major project that I have, but I am doing multiple different sort of things in these streams to kind of get my mind off from the main project. And today we're going to be making this sort of strategical game in style of Heroes, Might and Magic and other these type of RPG strategy games. You have creatures on your side, they follow you to the end, you fight against the creatures, you do armies and so forth and so forth. Indeed. That is the general idea of things, and that is what we're going to be doing. And it's kind of a practice for me to really do this, to kind of learn how it works, and we're going to be finalizing this with RPG Maker systems. The idea is to make a world map that is traversable, and then if you go to battles, it's this sort of strategical, sort of field battle that, the other side is on this side, and then they move around the map and do this sort of strategical combat. This is going to be one project, perhaps in the future I'm going to be focusing more on, but it's good to do a basics in and see how it goes. So welcome to eluukkanen stream. If you have any sort of questions and so forth, we have a chat opening very soon, so you can put your messages there and say hello and such. Haven't actually opened it yet. Let me open it and let us test chat. Here we go. It should be out there. So without further ado, let us begin our adventure in the land and open the stream. Here we go. Let us open it right away. And there's a problem, I think. We shall see about that though. But anyways, this is today's stream, and hopefully you're interested to see the RPG Maker and the creation in process. I'm really interested to show it how it goes. Indeed, that is the plan. RPG Maker MV. Have any of you guys used that engine? I recommend to do so if you want to achieve and do some stuff. I do recommend it. Does anyone here know Heroes, Might and Magic system, the gameplay and that sort of stuff? That's the kind of the general gist we are doing today. That's the sort of the idea, at least, that we are doing. We shall see what will go. This is a live stream, you never know, but I have some plans. I have some experience of doing some games in the past, so we might succeed or might not. There's no way of knowing without trying and seeing how it works. Indeed. You never know without actually trying out. So we are putting some information on here, and I'm going to be telling you what is it going to be. So basically, just put the information here on. Basically, this whole stream is going to be about me creating something that does not exist in RPG Maker. I'm going to be using some already existing systems to achieve this, but however, we're going to be using our ingenuity to make it so. Because otherwise, if we don't try new things, what is life worth? I tell you, nothing. Indeed. So let me put here RPG Maker MV, RPG Maker MV live stream. and so forth. Indeed. Let's make a game is today's topic. Let's make a game with RPG Maker. The RPG Maker has its own good sides, bad sides. It's easy, it's good side, and it has some limitation if you do not know how to go around them. But I think we're going to go around some limitations and make some interesting stuff happen. So let's make a game with RPG Maker. RPG Maker stream. The thing is, I don't know how many people stream this game still. It is kind of supposedly kind of old, made in 2015. So it might be that not many creators are active with some content on it, but still, I'm going to be pushing that boundary. Indeed. Game development. Let me actually show you what I'm doing, so it's not just me talking over here. Some random things. Nothing very useful when you think about the game development itself. But still, development. Here we go. Game development stream. And let's still put here. We are going to be doing some game development. I hope you enjoy. Here we go. And let's still put some information in. And as we always have to cut in this beginning, we are very much in the early things on here. And we're listening music from the second Heroes Might of Magic as we are doing this. So RPG Maker. Can we find the MV here? We can find the MV. Nice. Let's put it here and save it. So our stream is ready. Let us still check, is it right? Help to protect against the channel. Two-step verification, I suppose I should, but my password for this channel is going to be quite a lovely one, so I don't know how people are going to be actually getting that. I don't know why it's saying that, but still. Here we go. Putting this here. We are beginning our adventure. Everything is working over here. Good. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I think I should actually share this still in places. Before we... No, afterwards, of course, we're going to be starting fully. But Reddit is going to be a place we're going to be focusing on. Facebook, if all goes well. We put a painting picture here, because, of course... I don't know. I'm interested to see how this whole thing is going to be. We have had some good experience so far when we're doing RPG Maker project, but it always depends on how we're able to do it. We are still not ready though. So now we're going to be very much putting this information, sharing it in our lovely Reddit. Here we go. Let's do it. Reddit is sometimes good, sometimes bad. I recommend you RPG Maker Reddit is actually very positive. Some Reddits are not. RPG Maker Reddit is one of the friendliest I've seen. Let's go to the RPG Maker community and put some stuff in there. Here we go. Let's begin. So yeah, thing is, today we're going to be making a very different sort of game. And it's to really practice on the systems. I've been able to evolve quite a lot by just doing a different sort of systems. Let me actually show you how I'm putting it over here. There we go. Currently live streaming creation of RPG Maker game. Live. We are going to make a system similar to Heroes Might and Magic in this very live stream if we are successful. Here we go. Let's share this around. Live streaming creation of RPG Maker live. Gonna do blah 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 blah. Here we go. Let's put it down here. Always good to be active when it comes to RPG makers. People come and people go and say hello. That's what they do. So now let's be RPG maker. See, we have few groups over here, which we're still posting. And I noticed there's another group I should join, but we shall share this in here still. Indeed. How are you doing? We have few people watching already. 3 people. How are you doing? Welcome to eluukkanen stream. eluukkanen streaming. Yeah, indeed. We are just starting, so you're very early on to see it. I'm just sharing things around, because that's what you have to do in order to succeed in this sort of hardy landscape, as they say. Very difficult indeed without sharing things around, so now let's still share it in here.
A cream.
A cream!
You stream pretty late, Elias.
Today, unfortunately, I had a morning, I had to do some stuff. Not good, but I had to. I had to work on eluukkanen server. Also, I needed to fix up one project I was having, unfortunately. I usually try to stream earlier. Sorry, man. Usually I do stream a bit earlier. Hopefully not too late for you, man. It's 1 PM in Finland, so it's not late for me, but I know for many American viewers it is. Sorry about that. I try to really go a bit earlier. I do try, but it's a bit hard, I tell you. Because, you know, sometimes life takes that sort of stuff. I try to really put that later on, though. Life gives you lemons, but still, you keep on working. That's what you do. That's what I've done.
Wispy Whiskers.
Here we go.
Ever thought of informing us about your streams in advance?
Oh, should I do that? The thing is, I suppose I should really put, like, you know, I should do, like, let's say 2 hours from this earlier, like every day a stream or something like that. Perhaps I should do it. But the problem is, if I inform it even in the, like, the Facebooks and others, they don't always notify people outrightly. Yeah, unfortunately. Perhaps should I post it to some community tab somewhere? Who knows? If you have any idea where I should put it, let me know, because sometimes when I post to some places, nobody gets. That's the nasty thing. But you know, you're right. I should very much. How are you doing, Whiskers and Cream? So let us begin the process. If you are not familiar with the Heroes Might and Magic series, let me actually increase this screen over here. It's from the second game. It's this sort of like adventure on this sort of map. You have heroes on your side, you have adventures, seaside on there, and all these sort of things, adventures going on. And you control this sort of army that you have, and then you control it and rule the world, essentially. That's how it works. In fantasy setting, there are dragons, there are golems, there are wizards. That is what we're going to be trying to achieve, at least. We shall see how it
Whiskers. Goes. Maybe stream at predetermined times.
That would be good. That would be good. I suppose I will be setting up that, not this week yet, but I think like, let's say 3 hours before this moment, I suppose it should be the best moment. Yes, indeed. Okay, I'll make that so. How is your day going? Is it very late for you? But now, let us begin the process. As you can see, we should have something on the screen soon. Here we go. This is our lovely beginning project. It is called Army RPG for just a moment. And I'm going to be showing you basically how it's going to be. It's a very simplified thing, so please remember, this is still work in progress. So I'm currently working on this sort of, you know, this is the kind of the example world map we have over here. Haven't actually done anything here, just have put some random things over here and seeing how it goes. We should go to the knight character. So when you actually go into the world map, this is going to be the world map look. It's like in Heroes Might and Magic sort of style of game that, you know, you have these heroes, they work into the world map and then they go around and such.
It's 5 PM to ish here, not late.
Alright. But still. You know, there should be a regularity. Anyone here knows that if they are regular with their things, they are most productive. And I've not been able to yet do that yet, but I should be getting close to it. Yes, indeed. So let me show how this basically goes. Army RPG, I haven't done anything for the thumbnail yet. So this is the kind of the hero, and he has no animations so far, at least. So that's the kind of the idea is that he goes on the map. He has his horse, he rides the horse, and yeah, I go around here, da 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 da. Then there's these cities he can control. Then there's these treasures he can collect and so forth. Like that's the basic idea. I've only done documentation yet. I'm not going to show the documents because they are top secret, of course. But I'm going to be, you know, about the factions and what we're going to be doing. But I'm going to be showing you some systems, and we're going to be actually building them. And I'm going to be showing some ideas over here. Let me show how the battle system is going to work. So for each battle, actually, let me do some info because this is from the. Let me take this off. This is from the system I personally have. Let me just take it off. Here we go. So this is sort of like how the battle system is going to work. There's going to be like kind of like different sort of enemies on each side, as you can see. Can you see them? You can see it. Yeah. So the idea is that each faction has these sort of different units. Haven't actually changed any information on here.
Seems pretty much like a 2D Mount and Blade.
Yeah, the mold map is kind of 2D Mount and Blade, kind of sort of, but it's going to be based on turns, and you can move only certain amount of things in the one turn sort of faction. I'm going to be, of course, figuring these things out. But yeah, here we go. We can move these units on the battlefield. I'm actually using this system from this sort of script. Where is it? There's this system as RPG. I'm going to be using that, but it's not how it was originally meant to be used. I'm going to be changing quite a lot of it actually. It was not this sort of like a right and left sort of attitude. Of course, these are not yet animated, these units. We have some peasants over here, and we have some, and I'm of course, this is not going to be in the battlefield. This is just my player unit. I'm going to be changing it. But there's a lot of things that are going to be here. Just look at these ones. These are archers, some warriors, and that's the sort of the general gist of the whole situation. Yes. So let me just make it so. And then the enemies are going to move and do their own skills at their own sort of fashion when the battle is going. And once these creatures meet each other, they go to near each other, they hack and they execute their attacks. Here we go, and they lose some HP and that sort of fashion. That's the project work so far. Functional, but yet nothing too impressive looking, I tell you. Then when there are towns and places, it's going to be that you are able to essentially build them up, and they are going to be shown when the battle events are going to happen, in a sense. Like, this is just my testing and my ideas on, I'm going to be making walls in here and some moats and such, but it's, as you see, it's very early on. It's super early on, and we're going to be actually doing some process to make it much more better. We're going to be working on the world map right now. We're going to be making it better looking, beautiful looking, and we're going to be, of course, animating our little horses and such over here. That's the plan. That is the plan so far. So we're going to go to our little world map. Let me just use it as a test world map at least. We're going to be looking at how to make this better looking, better functional, and so forth. We have already some parts from my early
Wispy
game.
Whiskers. With some elements from Battle for Wessex.
What is that game? Battle for West North. I suppose it's something. I don't know. Let me know. Well, the basic idea of the world map is that there are like... I have the turn system already, but I haven't actually included that here. So basically, let me just write about it. So, the world map... There are like... there are going to be 8 factions in each map, just to make things easy. 1, 2, 3, so 8 factions. 8 factions per map. Max in a map, and the map is going to be, the world map area is going to be, let me just write it over here, world map. I always do this like for every project, just to do this sort of like a documentation, small thing, so I know what it is if I just look at this, like let's say after 5 months. If any ideas, if any feedback, let me know. So the idea is, let me show you some, like, these are early graphics, these are not going to be the final ones. They are not animated because it would take a ton of time.
Wispy
but we have
whispers.
some small things.
Although in BFW the grid is hexagonal.
Ah, yes. Yes, it is usually hexagonal in many games, but I'm going to be making a very kind of like on the other side and other side sort of battle system. That's going to be the one. So the idea is that there are these 5 factions, at least in the beginning. I'm going to be working on more, and they are made with the from mythological, based on mythological things. Like one of the factions is this sort of Central European faction, and it's this sort of medieval faction at the same time, sort of knights and these sort of creatures. I've made some very base stuff like here that are going to be replaced later on. As you can see over here, we have some peasant knight, and here we go. I'm actually going to show you how they look. Over here. Like we have these sort of very basic things that I did myself. I'm not the best artist, I tell you, but I have some ones over here, like you can see, battling rams and these sort of stuff. They are the units that we are going to get. So what I'm going to be working on first is going to be some adventure parts.
Will there be a benefit and weakness each faction?
Of course.
A cream.
There needs to be, otherwise it's just going to be something, that, each faction cannot feel safe. I played this game that was called Battle for Middle-earth back in the day, and it's of course based on the Lord of the Rings franchise. Problem for that is that every faction feels the same, and I hated it. So I'm going to be, of course, making these factions very unique on their own. I'm going to be working on some visual stuff over here first, before working on the systems and such. One of them I'm going to be working on, like in this game, you're able to gain resources from, let's say if you go to like mines and these sort of things. I'm going to be actually making a mine. That's the idea. Kind of a mine building. And see how it goes. Then I'm going to be actually making sure that you're able to take control of these buildings and so forth. That's the idea here. There are some colors for your factions, and who owns it, they had their flags waving on the side of them. That's the idea. That's the idea. Let's make a mine building over here. As you can see, I think you can see what I do. Can you see what I do? Yes, you can. Good. Good. If you have any suggestions, let me know. This is a very early project still, so of course, criticism is very much appreciated. But the idea is like this: there are going to be factions from all types of places, and like different sort of mythologies fighting against each other in a factions, and that's the idea. And each faction has hero characters that are historical or mythological characters. Like King Arthur is going to be one that is, like, let's say, in this knight faction and such, and so forth and so forth. And they basically fight each other with in the field of battle, not only in battles but also economically and such. And that is the idea. So we are doing a mine shaft. Hopefully I'm able to do it right. It doesn't really look like a mine shaft yet, but of course it's still in process. Let's make it over here. This project is going to be, I don't know when it's going to actually finalize itself, but I have this already a composer working for it, and some other assets that are currently in works of making, and such. It's going to be like, the thing is, I'm a fan of strategy games, and there have been some strategy games, but not in the style of what I'm doing here in many years. It's going to be this sort of style, getting inspiration from the Heroes Might and Magic series. It's going to be similar to that. So that hasn't, I think, not been done in some time. So I'm going to be trying to see how it would resonate with people if we do that. Here we go, some mine shafts. And let's make it a sort of a tunnel over this side. Yeah, there we go. Here we go.
A cream. RTS.
Not an RTS, it's a turn-based strategy game. In a sense that you control armies, characters per turn. If you play against human players, it's going to be there's a turn limit, or in a sense that you can set up that, and all players move at the same turn at the same time. But when they lose their movements, they press end the turn, and then once everybody has pressed end the turn, then all goes back. That's the whole thing. That's how it's going to work, and I like this sort of games quite a lot actually. Like, of course, there are RTSs, they are like this Age of Empires. It's not going to be an RTS because the battles are going to be very much sort of like a mix of strategy and how you understand each faction's weaknesses and good sides of them. That's how it's going to be. I can hear myself in the background. Hopefully that's not annoying to you. It's kind of annoying to me. Actually, put it like this. Here we go. Now it's much better. I cannot hear my own voice in the background. I hate that. So now let's continue our little process over here. Let me know. So the mine shafts. Let's go back to that. Let's make it much actually better looking. This doesn't look good yet. Of course, placeholder graphics, but we need some placeholder graphics in order to start making these. You got any ideas for the mythological factions? Currently, I'm going to be making
Wispy Whiskers. How about making gameplay for each faction unique?
I'm all ears.
Some resources might be more valuable to each of them. For some, terrain or location might be essential for their success, or holding certain towns.
Could be possibly, but how that would function, I don't know yet. Currently, for factions that I plan personally, and of course, they're going to be this sort of a medieval sort of faction, of a sort of European faction. There's going to be this sort of Chinese faction, which is going to be a very different one, and then there's going to be, I think, a Mesoamerican faction. I still don't know. I'm thinking about making a very like a kind of a northern, very North European sort of faction, like the mythological creatures from that and that sort of lore. Of course, in normal history, those wouldn't really have any kind of chance against anything. But of course, this is a game. I'm interested to put some mythologies and that sort of things in there. And that's about it. That's the kind of the gist, at least in the beginning, how we're going to do it. Because the thing is, it's going to... Hopefully, I'm planning, if this goes well, to do a lot of factions, but it's good to start from a small number of them. The European faction is going to be this sort of like, they have priests, and they have like a very, this sort of Christianity faction.
Building upgrade.
Building upgrade? Oh. I don't know about mines. Could you upgrade them? I suppose you could. I'm just putting the first building, at least, in. This is going to be a mine. In cities you can of course upgrade buildings and they can then produce different things. If you know about Heroes Might and Magic original game, they had a lot of these sort of things that you can actually upgrade your units even. I've done some sheets and such I planned for the European faction, so like if you have like, let's say, a monk, it can become a priest, it can become a monk, and then it can become a cardinal, and this sort of like a system. That's the idea, at least. All of that, of course, is going to require some graphics in. Is this a good mine? I suppose it's alright. It's kind of a... It doesn't look mine enough. Of course, this needs to be a mine card, of course. Can I put a mine card in here?
Yes. Open mine. Caved mine. Mining complex. Those are some ideas.
It could be, and then you could destroy actually mines and sort of do this sort of Russian burned land tactic, if you know about that. Like usually in warfare, like if there was some kind of useful resources for enemy to pillage, you could actually destroy them beforehand so the enemy wouldn't get their hands on that. We could actually, that would be an interesting sort of system, perhaps. Possibly. Possibly.
For example, if you add an undead faction, they wouldn't have need for food or farmland, but access to spell regents and corpses would be vital.
I'm not the undead faction is a kind of, I don't, how could it work?
Tactic.
Yeah, Scorch Earth, that's the one. Not Burned Earth tactic. Yeah, Scorch Earth, that was the one. The undead faction, I might make the Mesoamerican faction to have some kind of like the... Because the thing is, they had a lot of themes when they, like Aztecs about sacrifice and this sort of stuff. So I might make that, have that more. But of course, European faction is not going to be really like a undead skeletons and that sort of fashion. No, at all. I don't think that's going to roll. No, no, no. Here we go. Let's add a kind of like... yes, here we go. So we have a sort of minecart situation here, hopefully, yes. So it's kind of noticeable, hopefully open mine. As you mentioned, Wispy Whiskers, there could be like, Cream mentioned that you could upgrade buildings. Possibly, but of course that has to be programmed in. I haven't really programmed that yet. But a possibly idea is a good, because I've already done a system that you can actually upgrade city buildings. Scorch tactic, usually that was not available tactic when it came to these old games that were Might and Magic. They really didn't include that, but that's a part of warfare, I think. So they should be really one of the tactics that are in. So let me save that. There we go. Let me save that right in. We have a building. But do you know these like Mesoamerican cultures and such? Let me know about the ideas. The thing is that, you know, the gameplay is very much going to involve you having a hero in this sort of world. I have not done random generation yet for the system, but there are like these maps. You start in the maps and then you control your armies, you purchase armies, you have resources you have to manage, and then you can take over the cities, of course, which generate a lot of resources. So let me put here mine. Here we go. We got ourselves a mine. Let's put that to monitor once again. Here we go. And let's try putting it over here. Very simple. We are starting from literally zero. That's the thing. The idea is that we had some flag animations. Let me actually see. Do I have them here? Here we go. These are the flags. Idea is that once someone owns a certain piece of land, the flag is going to come to over that. I'm going to be actually making that right away. That's one of the major things. Of course, you can change your colors and such, but I'm going to be making sure that at least the first faction I'm going to be doing is a red faction. That is the thing. I do like these sort of strategy RPGs, especially they have these. I can make like spell effects and all this sort of stuff happen, and I can use like catapults and such to fire far and this sort of fashion. That's going to be very much what we're going to be including over here. But as you can see, it's still pretty early on. Here we go. So I'm going to be basically, let's say, a system over here. Do I have a spawn system over here? I don't have the spawn system in. I'm actually going to be including that over here. It's one of these lovely scripts that manages me to spawn anything I want, anywhere I want. And I'm going to be spawning the flags above the structures if they are owned. That's essentially it.
Can program prerequisites to do something.
Like build archer, you need archery range. Yes, of course, of course. You can do conditions. Once you have certain buildings, you can get certain stuff. Oh, yes, indeed. The population numbers haven't really touched on that yet.
Town hall needs certain number of territory or population.
The territory, I'm going to be simplifying it to have castles, and the castle is going to be the main sort of thing with that. I'm going to be changing the flags though a little bit. I'm going to be making them animated. Here we go. I'm going to be putting this one over here, like this. So yes, that's the idea. The idea is very much that you are going to have, depending on what buildings you have, you can build certain units. And of course, you have certain sort of like bonus boosts on your creatures.
For the Mesoamerica's vast numbers and the ability to gain massive morale boost with sacrifices, but make them vulnerable to plagues might be
that might be actually. Let me actually write that down. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. I have not written that down yet to Mesoamericans. Let me see. Yeah, that's a good kind of summary for them. I'm going to be making them like, if you look at the Quetzalcoatl and this sort of like their mythology and such, it's very interesting and very bloody. Like usually they are very bloody culture. They sacrifice so many creatures. So I'm going to be making that faction very different from, let's say, this European faction. Yeah, this sort of medieval European faction. So now let me do the flag animation of a thing. Let me just put it monitor on. Here we go. Monitor is on. Here we go. And let's us make this flag better because I didn't have it animated. Let me do it. So I want to do something visual going on here while we are doing this. Something simple, and flag animation is not that hard to really do, if I remember right. So let me do it like this. Here we go. Sort of like two, and then we have this one in here. I'm putting it in here. So that's the idea. I'm going to be, in the later of the stream, I'm going to be actually writing some documents on the certain creatures, what I've been planning. But, you know, wait for that, of course. That sort of ideas you have are very much appreciated for that. We're going to be doing some early things first, though. And please I remind you that it's very still early project. But I want to do this because I'm a huge fan of these sort of RPG strategy games. I personally played a lot of Heroes Might and Magic when I was younger. A lot of it. And it's an excellent title. I think it's a very excellent. Here we go. It's sort of like this. Sort of like this. I don't know. It might look awful. Who knows? Have you played any kind of strategy games yourself? If you have, let me know your what those are. Here we go. I think I'm going to be actually putting this flag on this side of the aisle. Here we go. And copy this one in here. Very good. So let's destroy the original ones. Like this. Much better. Much better indeed. Simple animation. It might look bad, but I will later on fix it. I want to just see how it kind of functions, at least in the beginning. I'm going to be adding the spawning script in and making sure that once you obtain a certain building, that has a certain flag on it. That's the idea. And I'm going to be making like different cultures thought about their like different mythologies. I'm going to be making that those are actually true, not just fiction in this game. That's the idea.
Played Days Ruaku Exceed back in the days.
What is Dice and Ruaku? I'm going to be actually checking that out. Let me save this though. Let me save the flag. Very simple flag. Here we go. Flag red small. Here we go. And let's make it a little bit bigger, of course. It's not that small.
A queen. Maybe planning to purchase PS2 system again.
PS2? Why is that? Is it sort of like a nostalgia thingy? You can of course emulate that if you really want to, I suppose. There are emulators, I suppose. I haven't used those. Daraku. What is this game about? Ah, it's like this sort of like a kind of a strategy game at the same time. Yeah, I kind of like. So yeah, kind of this sort of strategy game and numbers and so forth. It's not going to, the game we're going to be making is not going to be like this, I tell you. A bit different. Let me copy the script of spawning from the project I already have. Here we go. Event spawner. Let me put that here in. I personally recommend using that if you are thinking of if you are thinking of making this sort of like using a RPG Maker to make a game of your dreams, I recommend event spawner system. It's you can customize it however you want it to be. It's a very lovely thing. So now we have this in. Here we go.
A cream. I've had emulated before, not strong enough computer.
Ah, I see. Yeah, it's, sometimes computers, yeah, it doesn't work with those. Or the emulator settings, like you have to do a lot of setting up things before making things work on that. It's not like just put the thing.
Arku is a turn-based.
Oh, okay. Kind of similar then, possibly, but there's a separate battle screen in this very game, at least. Okay, so we're going to be doing our spawning script. Now we're going to be making a place that is called Spawn Events. It's going to be a place player never is allowed to go, but it spawns all the events that are needed. So we're going to be making sure that, let me open the script, it's here, event spawner. The map name is map 7. So let me go to the here. Map 7. Here we go. Then I go to the commands over here. And what I want to do is copy this script command like this. And let's go to the world. Let's put this, by the way, in here somewhere. There we go. And once we add the world, once we press this, we're going to be actually making sure that we put a script over here, an ID, like this. And what we are going to be doing is doing some numbers again. As you remember from the last time, just putting in some numbers. Yeah, I haven't yet put any numbers over here. It's a brand new project, I tell you. So I'm going to be putting here spawn X.
PBSA.
And spawn U.
Howdy, are you trying to do AC and C, command and conquer type of game?
Not necessarily command and conquer. It's going to be a bit different. It's basically going to be a game of sorts of RP, kind of like Heroes Might and Magic. Let me know if anyone has heard about that title. You know, Heroes Might and Magic 3. It's this sort of like a turn-based thing that you control armies and such. Yes, let me actually have here one thing.
Can you program disaster spawn?
Oh yes, I can. I can spawn anything. That's the thing about the. It just depends on how the systems you're able to build. And if you build the systems good enough, then you're able to spawn anything, really. But it just has to be a functional thing. It has to be something that you plan. And once you plan it, then all should be fine. Let me actually go to... So it's 21. Right, there we go. 21.
Earthquake, tornado, disease.
That sort of stuff, yes. The thing is, many game developers usually don't go that because it takes some extra time, of course. But the thing is here... Just put it like true. The idea is very much so that I want to make this kind of a different from the earlier ones. And some games do spawn like tornadoes and such, but I don't know. The Heroes Might and Magic, I think, did not. It tried to play it safe in some areas, but we're gonna be doing some things on it. But you know, until we're going to be do that, it's going to be still taking time. But I'm going to be perfecting this, of course. Now let's go to the. Hey, PBSA, how are you doing, by the way? I didn't say that, did I? Are you familiar with of these turn-based strategy games? Possibly not. This is the flag of red. Red flag, and it determines that you own it. Red flag. It's number 1. We go to the world map. We test it by just putting here. It spawns the. There we go. The ID 1. And I'm going to be making sure that the spawn X is going to be characters X, and spawn U is going to be characters U. Here we go. And we're going to be still making sure that it goes above the event. So we're going to be making sure that we sublime 1 from the U, like this. And it should now spawn a flag above there. Let's test it out. Yeah, this is a very new project. I'm usually like last time we did a very different project. Today we're making a very different one. That's the idea is that there has not been too many of these types of strategy games, and I think there's an itch needed to be cracked I think there's interest for this sort of type of game. Oh, it doesn't work. Didn't work. Let's see how it works. So it should be spawning it, I think. Number 1 action. Have actually made it so that it's functional. It is. It should be functional. And the map number is 7. It should be over here. Weird. Actually, oh, the music's changed. Let me change the music.
If you also program population system 2, it can do much damage to population count and buildings, though I am a bit confused on the RNG settings.
Yeah, you can actually, like, the thing is, if you make a game, you can actually, if you design a system, you can make any system, but it's just going to take some time to make it ready. We don't have any systems ready on the population side of things, but population number is something I'm very much going to be doing. The thing is that, you know, different populations are going to be working quite differently. Like, you know, if I imagine a castle faction, a peasant and such, like, you have a basic unit is like a peasant. Peasants are very poor in fighting, but they generate your food. But if you upgrade them to like citizens, a normal like tax-paying citizens, they actually pay you money every turn. Like that's the thing, and that's like there's these sort of different units, different sort of strategies, and it's very unique on the sort of the European faction on that. With Aztec faction, they are very much going to be focusing on the sacrificial thing. Let me actually do heroes, might, and magic 3. Oh, so we're gonna be listening to this one. Here we go.
PBSA. So like the Flash game Battaglia.
I suppose something like that.
Strategy
Something
game where
like
you
that.
build and control units, with units that are strong against some and weak against others, and the terrain will give more or less.
Something like that, yes, something like that. That is the idea. Of course, still very early on.
Game Boom Beach. It needs residential building. They generate some kind of money in form of tax.
Boom Beach. Is it the one that made by the Clash of Clan developers? Yes. The taxes are that's still a system haven't put. Why is it not spawning there? Oh, here we go. Ah, okay, wrong place. Wrong place. Here we go. It should be 1. Here we go. So it works, nice. We can now actually control buildings, or at least make it so that they look to be controlled. Of course, I'm going to be making sure that now you're actually going to, like here.
Take your time.
Here we go. Take your time, of course, of course. It's still in the earlier days. The thing is, I need to make sure that buildings are able to be controlled, and they are able to generate some tax. With mine buildings, you're able to get some ores. That's of course the basic sort of thing, like this. Here we go. I'm of course going to make it a little bit better looking, but I suppose this will do. This will do. In the earlier moments. Here we go. So you're now able to control unit places. I'm going to be actually making sure that it actually works without just not spawning things. So once you have this under your control. Jeez, it started to rain like hell.
To rain like hell. I wanted to give to one of my cats a sun bath, but looks like it will be impossible.
Man, weather never works in our favor. It really doesn't. In here, yesterday it rained snow. Snow. Actually, 2 days ago, but still. It is weird times we're living in. Of course. Rain is very good for the plants. I would very much wish it actually would rain soon and it would be warm, so the plants would be happy, because I'm doing some farming things, of course. For everybody, it's different. But now, we're going to be actually doing this sort of thing. I'm going to actually see, do I have the script in? I don't have the script in.
If building spaces, how much block it takes if built.
I know, give building spaces, how much block it takes if built. Yeah, the building system, like, thing is, I'm very much showing early things, and you can actually affect quite a lot on how this goes.
At least it didn't snow dandruff.
At least it didn't, yeah. At least. It's good to be positive on this sort of thing, yes. I'm going to be adding another one of these scripts in, which is going to help me a lot. Richard, hey, good job.
For your orchestrated music of
Hey, how are you doing? Good to see a new face in here. We are doing this sort of... Oh, but I'm so showing a wrong thing. Wrong thing in the wrong time. How are you doing, Richard? Welcome to the stream. We are doing a game development stuff. Thanks for the... Glad you liked. Glad you liked the Digimon. And we're going to be doing more for that later on, of course. Stream perhaps next Monday. Who knows? We shall see. We shall see. We're at hard times now. I will get some cat. What is BRG? What is BRG? Can you someone tell me? No idea what that is. Anyways, I'm going to be adding another system that is going to be a self thing.
I'm a French streamer.
Oh!
Digimon World on Twitch.
Oh man! Oh, if you would have still been streaming, I would actually check it out. I will check it out, of course, if you have a streaming place. I would always lovely to meet new streamers. What your streaming place is called? I'm currently making a small little game over here, a very simple one at that, but still. Self. This is going to be. Let's see. I'm actually going to go find it in one place. A moment here. The thing is, we are currently developing a game. Are you familiar with this sort of strategy RPGs? We're going to be making a strategy RPG on this stream. I do some game development time to time as well. So you do streaming. Digimon World is a hard one, I tell you. It is a difficult one. When I was a child, I was not able to finish it at all. Yes, it is quite a hard one. We try to find the script. It's this sort of... Yeah, here we go. Found it. Alright, let's put it in the game. This is going to be another helpful tool. I'm able to put individually for the individual events some settings up. So I don't need to do like... it just eases things. You're going to see how it actually works. But let me show it to you. Here we go. Let's get back to the work. So what I'm going to be doing is... I go into here. Actually, let me go back to my other project. I'm opening the Final Fallacy project for a moment.
Back from checking on the cat.
Oh, how was the cat?
Now, I played
what is BRG?
Tactics Advance.
Final Fantasy Tactics is kind of like a strategy game. That, yes, indeed. It's a kind of a strategy game. We are actually doing these games ourselves a little bit. It's still, of course, early in the works. And we have some good suggestions for people for this game. But of course, you have to remember it's still early on in development and such. So you play that, huh? What's your streamer name?
Early access.
Noita. Oh, my brother showed me. It actually looks pretty lovely. Yeah, Noita. Noita. It's lovely the Finnish words and such used in that sort of stuff. Yeah. So we're going to be adding our self switch and self variables to the mix, and these are going to help me quite a lot actually. Going to help me a ton.
Rykold Javras. Twitch.tv/.
Let's check it out, shall we? Let's check out our new friend Richard Javras. Welcome to the whole place. You might have been a first timer in the eluukkanen streaming. I mean. Very good to see you. Very good to see you. Let's see. Record. Let us open the page. How was your luck in the Digimon World game? Did you able to grow a lot of creatures?
The cat is basically dying.
Ah.
Living the best last days of his life as best as possible. It's for this reason I wanted to give him a sun bath.
Oh man, that's very nice. You know, unfortunately cats don't live forever. So very nice. Are you doing French? Oh, that's very nasty because I don't know much French, to be honest. But yeah, we go. That's the tactics over here. I will be following, but I might say that I might not be possibly the best when it comes to French language. Of course, I'm interested to see this in Final Fantasy Tactics, because actually a game I want to play at some point. Final Fantasy Tactics, to be honest. Now, self variables, we got away from the variables themselves, and we're actually going to open self. And these are, perhaps they don't really mean nothing yet to you, but these are lifesavers, I tell you. I don't know how anyone can actually develop an RPG Maker game without these things, so let me actually put it on here. So we are going to be making sure that if you go to this event, you own it then we are able to make it that you own it. Red owns. This is red owns script. So I press like this. And I'm going to go to the system over here, as we have it. Go down here. Let's open it over here. And self switches, here we go. These self switches are lifesavers because then I can just individually put some stuff on and they just work. Like people say, they just work. So let me do that over here. It's kind of a scripting thing. You have seen me do it in Final Fallacy when we do some things on that. But now we're going to write some things over here. Are we actually going and checking out, do we have those working in here? Let's go to test templates. But yeah, the strategy game or like no other. Hopefully that's the plan. We shall see how it goes. The thing is, it's very early on. But the idea is that we're going to be making mythological factions fight against each other with strengths and weaknesses and so forth. Man, I'm sorry to hear that your cat is in a deathbed sort of fashion. My dog, when I had that, it's not nice. It's not nice.
Music of Digimon World in my stream to launch my live.
Hey, of course, that's very much. You can actually, there should be downloads in there somewhere, so you can use it very much, of course. The cell switch ID is called 3. So let me make it 3. Here we go. So this should give every end of the turn a certain amount of things to you. So now it's owned by Red Owns. Good. Let us make it so. Like this. We paste and put the Red Owns. And once we have it, we just put it here. Red owns it. Of course.
Smiling cat face with open mouth.
Of course, a pleasure is on my side. That's the thing. Fan creations are for fans. I do think it's just locking it somewhere. It's not good idea. It's not good idea at all. There's actually this one YouTuber one that uses a few Digimon World things I have. Nice. The Red owns it. And the thing is, if I wouldn't have the cell switches, it would say the Red owns it in each of these places. But of course, now I'm making sure that Red only owns it like this. Red owns it. Red owns it. Red owns it. Red owns it.
He is dying of renal infection and liver cancer. The treatment for one will not treat the other problem, and because of that is impossible to treat him to healthy.
I'm sorry to hear, man, PBSA. I'm a dog person, but of course cats are companions as well. It's very nasty. I remember when my dog died, it's just so sad thing. But you know, death is a reality of life. Hopefully, if you believe that, you know, heaven or something like that, perhaps hopefully someday you see it or something. But of course, some people don't. I have no idea. So who am I to say anything on that? But the thing is though, it's a kind of a sad thing. Sad thing. You know, some people say that, you know, this is going to happen and this is going to happen after you die, but who can I really say? I haven't really visited any place after this, so, you know, I cannot really say anything on that, so, you know, whoever can. That's the thing, that's the thing. But we should really think of, it's a part of life, unfortunately. And, yes, hopefully, it's a sad thing, sure, of course, because, you know, it's a pet companion and such. Of course. So we have over here our plan that is now finalizing. Thing is, now we go to the spawn events. We make sure that you can actually go above, you know, go below this, so it's like visually sort of stuff. Of course, I'm going to be still making it better looking, but I suppose something like this. You know, here we go. It's owned by someone. Yay! Red owns it. Yay! Yay! Everyone is on my side of things. Here we go. And now I'm actually going to be trying out our new thing, which is I can actually random spam these. Hey, Iko, how are you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. We are making a game, a very simple strategy game. I have this classical composer I would actually want to compose for it. She can compose this sort of like... she's very good when it comes to orchestra and such, and I would very much want to have him on this side, of course others later on for the graphic side of things, but this sort of like a RPG tactic game. There's going to be spells, there's going to be armies fighting each other. How are you doing, Aiko? Good to see. We were just mourning for the cats of PBSA, of course. You, Aiko, as a cat person, I think you can kind of get into that sort of...
He is around 8 years old and I saved him from the street. He probably was one day from dying from starvation when I saved him.
Man.
And now he is like the first time he came home very skinny.
Oh man. Yeah, it's the sickness sort of stuff. It's unfortunate. Unfortunate, but you know, life is cruel sometimes. Life is cruel, and you know, it's really easy to me to say that, but still. Now we're going to be spawning some things over here on the map. We're going to be seeing the sort of the random map things. We're going to be putting the positions that these mines can actually spawn into. I'm going to be actually testing this out. So I'm going to be putting like some drawing distance over here, like this. I can actually set up that mines are only spawned in that sort of like mountain areas, but still, I'm going to be just testing this.
That is a very beautiful action you did, PBSA. Saving him, feeding him.
Very, very good. You know, not all would do that. Animals have tough lives, I tell you. Like they say cats have 9 lives, but man, it's sometimes very rough for some cats around there. Yeah, very rough. So the region is called 17. I put it like true. Here we go. And then I will put it so it doesn't repeat all the time. And I put it like this. So it should spawn these many of mines in this area. Let me check, do I have it? Here we go. And delete it like this. Actually realized this was the wrong number. We're going to be putting it like this. We are doing very basic things, but basically in this game you are going to have like resources to conquer, enemies to fight, and so forth, indeed. Here we go. Now we have some mines spawned in. Like, look at that. Here we go. Mine. Yay. Of course, there's going to be food, one of the resources. Ore is going to be one of the resources. We haven't actually figured out what the resources should be. We should actually do it next one. We should actually do it next. Because, yeah, I haven't really put information on that yet. You're going to see the game process made live. Like this. Like, look at that. Nice, we have the areas, and I'm going to be making sure that the 17 area is in the mountainous area later on, but let me just delete this one right now. Put the 17 in here. Yeah, it's random spawns on the region I'm just put it. It's not predetermined, like this. Here we go. And let's figure out the resources. Thanks, Aiko.
I put him inside a popcorn bucket as kind of safety.
Oh man.
Because I didn't know how my other cat would react to him. Didn't reacted very well at the beginning.
Of course, you know, who is that outsider coming to our place? And then perhaps later on grew to understand that, hey, that's a part of our group right now. It's the same with the dogs. It's the same with the dogs. I remember my old dog like oh, what is this new one? That's how they do react. They do react like that. But now, we're going to be figuring out a thing that is called... let me actually open this for a moment. And I'm going to be opening files. So we're going to be figuring out what are the resources.
There are a lot of stray cats. That is sad. Some owners leave them when they are on holiday. However, I live near a forest and there are a lot of bugs. But still... that is sad. People shouldn't take animals and then leave them. That's not a way to go. That's not a way to really do things, I tell you. Here we go. Let me add a file over here, which is going to be resources of the game. It's not good at all. Resources. I think it's just a shameful thing because it's like taking a baby and then leaving the baby. It's a... You know, of course, you can sell the pet, you can, you know, even put that to somewhere else that somebody wants it. Like,
there are other ways than just leaving it. I just don't notice. I don't have the... Here we go. Now we got it over here. Here we go. Now let's continue our process over here. So we're going to be starting with game resources. Now we are starting from literally zero, I tell you. So one of them is food. Or I'm thinking, of course, we are going to be checking out what resources we could add. If you have any ideas, let me know. The idea for me is very much a wood is going to be one of the resources, of course, because of course when you have wood, you can build some buildings and such. Yes, indeed. So let me actually put over here. Is connected to population growth and hunger. If you don't have food.
Now they are like brothers. Being now he is like, who are you? You don't smell like Ferosco. The dying cat name. Get away from me, where is Ferosco? The reason for that is the medication.
Oh man, I'm sorry to hear.
Francisco Anderson. Make a Legend of Legaia song. A cream.
What is Legend of Legaia?
Whiskey whiskers.
Aww.
Spell regents. You use them for rituals and summoning.
Spell regent. Let me actually Google what is regent. Just a moment. Yeah, let's do that. We shall see. It's like it has to connect to the mythology and to as many factions as possible. A person appointment to...
Fortunately, I saw several times...
Hey, Francisco Anderson, make a Legend of Legaia song. What is Legend of Legaia? Let me check it.
The cats run and eat.
Fortunately, I saw several times a man propose drive. Very lovely, very lovely.
I think he meant Legolas.
Legend of Legolas? I don't know what that is. But what is a spell regent? When I read here, it says like it's like a monarch, an absent, sort of like a pro-temperate person. Maybe a... what is that? Regent. What would you have an idea if we would have a regent in this sort of game of... yeah, let me know, let me know.
Whiskey whiskers. Materials for magic use.
Of course, of course. Might people... I have to think about it. I'm just going to be a magic regent at this right now. Spell regent, yes. How you could... the thing is, how do you gain this resource? That's the thing. That's the kind of the big thing.
Iron for unit recruitment.
I'm not sure. The idea is that I would make this sort of a... I would make it very much connected to coins and gold. That's the thing. Gold is one of the main resource, and all of the people you can actually pay for gold to do stuff for you, come and join you. I'm going to be making it functional with every single faction. That's the idea. Let me just put it like this. Is connected to hiring and paying for hiring units and heroes, also for paying for buildings, upgrades and more.
Regency append when the king died, and the queen can't rule or is also dead, and the prince is too young to rule, at least below 15-year-old. A cream. Or iron to build advanced buildings.
Now we have to think about this, because, you know, we have to think about this. Like, there are the factions like here, like we have the medieval Europe. Central Europe, I suppose, like medieval Central Europe. I haven't really named this yet. But sort of like medieval Central Europe is one of these factions. And the second one is going to be Mesoamerican faction. European faction. Mesoamerican faction. North European faction. Chinese faction, at least in the beginning, and then I'm going to be making possibly African faction. I don't know about that yet. And that's all is connected to the mythology. Mythology. That's the thing. These factions are not like historical factions. They are more connected to the mythologies. That's the sort of stuff. Of course, later on more factions, and the magic resource has to connect somehow to all of these. Like, I don't know, a Mongolian faction? Possibly later on. These are the first 5 ones. Of course, there's going to be more later on.
You might have to train specialists to harvest those materials.
There might be res, perhaps.
Mongolian faction. PBSA. The Mesoamericas are all in small islands.
Perhaps I do the wrong name for those. Actually, I have to Google that. I might have had a different name. So the idea is that it's kind of like an Aztec faction. I do remember I have to get the right name for those, of course. What is Legend of Legaia? Let me open the images on here. Someone suggested. I'm going to be checking it out. Ah, it's this sort of PlayStation 1 game, I suppose. I haven't actually heard of this before. An RPG. Yeah. Who knows? Who knows? Thing is, I only do currently remastered. Yeah.
Maybe you meant High Americans.
This says, Mesoamerica is a historical region of cultural area of North America. It extends from approximately Mexico to Belize, Guatemala, Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, which region pre-Columbian flourishes Spanish colonization. Yeah, it's Mesoamerican culture, yeah. That is the one. Okay, so I got it right. So yeah, Mesoamerican is the one that should be in the Aztec area, yes. That the Spanish people came and pillaged, that's what they did. High Americas, I don't know about that one. I have to actually check out that. High American. Does that mean anything? Who knows? How's everybody's day currently going? We are currently in developing a game here, and we don't really get any idea in here, just some from the Europa Universalis. Not possibly something that we are interested in right now. Thing is, I might be doing the change the spell regents. We could do a regent, kind of like a special thing for the European faction, possibly. I'm going to be changing this to spirit, because the thing is that, you know, when you have like more spirit, the mythology is much more powerful. This is like a magic sort of, and you get them from temples and so forth. You know, if you obtain a temple, then your spirit like increases per turn, sort of fashion. Of course, these are still like these are still in works, not fully implemented. Let me do this regent. It's magic regent. I'm just saving it there. Not in the beginning, yes. The 5 faction is a lot of work even in the beginning. So I'm going to be putting these ones at least and in the first there. And seeing how they work. Might be. Ah, I see.
Middle Eastish faction.
You know, African faction or Middle Eastern faction. I haven't yet actually put any mind of mine on this, so Middle East. Thing is, you know, there's some interesting sort of African cultures with, you know, their tribes and their sort of mythologies, at least.
All right.
Yeah, at least I haven't really put time on this. I'm actually grey it a little bit, but that's the idea. So we have 4 factions. And 5 factions, you know, these are the beginning factions, more later on. But then we have like a spirit, which, you know, is connected to spells and faction abilities.
PBSA. And I was thinking of Polynesia culture.
Ah, yeah, Polynesia. Yeah, Polynesia is an actually interesting sort of place. But later on, like, there's so many different cultures over there. Even in like Asia, there's like a Japanese, Mongolian, but I'm going to be putting Chinese here in the first because, you know, it's a lovely contrast. Medieval Europe, Mesoamerica, North Europe, Chinese faction, and then African, these sort of culture spheres. So we have gold connected to hiring, food connected to population growth, magic is like magic, and you get from temples, and you mine spirit, get spirit from temples. Naval units haven't, I was thinking about ships, and you know, when you go to a ship, it basically is like you go into the sea, like and then there's another battlefield inside the ship looking like a ship sort of faction. And it would be that, you know, let me just do it like this just to show it. There would be like a sea in between, and there's like the other ship is on the like the other side, and the other ships on the other side. This is like the battlefield when it comes to ships, and you have to actually like either shoot the other people down, or you have to like invade and, you know, actually go to the other ship. That's the idea for me. For the
like the Japanese have a lot of cultures inside their country. They are very similar, but also very different.
I suppose I should actually make it more clear. Perhaps I should do like Han Chinese faction. You know, very much this sort of like. Of course, I have to really look into that, of course, more. Indeed, but that's the idea of Cream for the naval fighting, at least right now. If you have any good ideas, let me know. So, ore is, of course, you need this to hire certain creatures and build structures like this. Ore. Here we go.
At Pisa, they are good at keeping records, though not always true.
Yeah, that's true as well. Han Chinese, they're very much, they are the majority, but of course there are many different cultures smaller in there. Of course, there are going to be many other factions as well. That's the idea, that's just the issue of it. So wood is like this. I'm going to be actually checking out one thing, which is that, you know, some like there should be some other resources possibly.
People who love Eastern Asian culture. I can see everything, marble, etc. Very highly modern world. Whiskey whiskers. The European faction might play with powerful secular units and technology, but doesn't have any other way of gaining spirit other than temples, making their mythological units late game.
That is actually a very good idea. Yeah, they are very much based on humans and their things, and you actually have to write that down. That's an excellent thing. Let me write that down over here. Very good ideas. If I can use them, I appreciate it. Thing is, like, that is a very good kind of summary of that. But that's the idea is that, you know, later on the European faction could take like angels and this sort of like holy people, like this sort of like. How did I put it in here? There was this like saints and other this sort of stuff, but it's still, of course, work in progress. So we have spirit, ore, wood. What else? I have no idea yet what else there should be as a game resource, but of course this you would get from taxes or gold mines. Here we go. Food you would get from farms.
For battle and transport ship for carrying troops. The battle you thought of may take place in battle with boarded transport ship.
The idea is that, you know, you can actually affect to the battlefield in the game. In some of the games they make the battlefields like non-consequential, but in this game I'm going to be making sure that you can actually, if you like own a territory, let's say a city, you can actually build like turrets and that sort of things, kind of like archer towers and this sort of stuff to help you out. And perhaps in the ship area it could be kind of similar in a sense. Like when you have like a different two ships, you could have like a battleship would be much more easily defendable than the other one. I have to be, of course, still work on that. That's the idea. The idea is that, at least. But we're gonna be now, we have made the resources, as you have here. And we are going to be making a gold mine. And then we have farms, and that's the things we're going to be now working on. We have been streaming for 1 hour and 19 minutes. A pleasure to have you here. Hopefully you've been enjoying this process so far. You're going to be seeing it from very early on. Yes, indeed, very early on, the whole process. So let us go and do some stuff. I'm going to be making actually a first unit for Mesoamerican faction now. And we are going to actually see how it might be. If you have any ideas, let me know. I'm actually going to start a thing on here. I already have some files in my computer, but I'm going to be starting it from here. Let's say Mesoamerican faction.
Wispy Whiskers. Do you plan on adding a policy system? It could determine how your economy management works and what kind of units...
There was this idea of, like, let me actually, so this is the idea of mine. There's there are 3 type of social policies, just to simplify it. There's going to be mundane, then there's going to be what was there? What was the one?
Even transport ships had cannons. There were less than other ships, but they had guns.
And of course, battling rams and this sort of stuff, yeah. What was there? So there's magic, yes. Okay, here we go. What was it? What was it? Myth, magic, and mundane. These are they're going to be the social policies, and they are like, you know, the myth focuses on the like what was I thinking?
So well, what era we be talking?
We are talking about very much a medieval era, and we are not very much going to cannons, at least right now. That's the idea. That's the idea. But very much like mythological, and yeah, this sort of like
Maybe make it upgradable.
possibly, perhaps not.
Well, more the 1000 era, if I am not wrong.
The thing is, like this is going to be the idea is that it's not going to follow any historical things. I'm going to be like.
That is funny. The game you're making reminds me of a board game I played a couple of years
Oh,
ago with my
what
friends,
was that?
But it was a very hard game.
What was it about, Aiko? Let me actually know. Board games, you know, there are some these sort of that strategical board games, kind of similar, yeah. And they were the original Might of Magic was kind of inspired by board games. So the idea is that we don't really follow any historical timelines. We have different cultures from different areas, imagining if their myths could be real, and if a myth is real, meaning that if Aztecs believed about Quetzalcoatl, you're going to have a Quetzalcoatl unit right, like going right there. So that's the kind of the thing, and the idea is very much so that it doesn't really follow any historical timeline. Just different myths and cultures, their culture spheres fighting against each other. This sort of fantasy sort of thing, combining them together. Imagine if they are real, sort of fashion. The social policies are going to be myth, and the myth is going to be very much focusing on the. The mundane is going to focus on the sort of like the economy management. It's going to take all of the bonuses for the myths and, you know, magic, all these sort of like bonuses for heroes, bonuses for magical creatures. It's going to take that out, but it manages your country well. The magic is going to be focusing on the sort of magical aspect of, you know, creatures, some kind of like a deities and such. And the myth is going to focus on mythical characters, these sort of heroes and how they work and manage. And we're going to be having, for each faction, we're going to be taking these sort of mythical characters, like King Arthur's and such, let's say from European faction, and you're going to have them as the sort of mythical heroes, essentially. So that's the idea, at least. Of course, if you have any better ideas, any better sort of on that, let me know. But the Mesoamerican faction, let me actually go to the medieval. Here we go. Let's put it in here. So, Mesoamerican, aka Aztec faction.
It was about building realm during a medieval time with a little bit of magic. I understood N seriously smiling face.
Oh, it was a hard game, yeah. Sweat. That sounds like a lot. That sounds like an interesting sort of like perhaps similar. I don't know the name though. Yes. So that's the idea. Mesoamerican faction is going to be very much, let me actually put what you put over here. That's what they're going to be focusing on. Very good idea. If I can put it over here. For Mesoamerican vast they focus on... So I played as a thought, which means randomly. Alright. So, some old game somewhere, who knows? A Roman faction? A Greek faction, a Roman faction, possibly. I will put that information there. Thing is, I haven't been still thinking on the ship thing because I haven't yet put all of the pieces together for the grand battle.
I think there was the word royaume in the title, realm in French.
Random realm or something? Board games are fun, especially if they are like well built.
Randomly.
That is the name of it? For Mesoamericans, they focus on vast numbers and the ability to gain massive morale boost with sacrifices, but make them vulnerable for plagues. Plagues and... what else? What was the weakness of the Mesoamericans? And technology. Sort of like an early game faction. Early game faction.
How about it?
A material wood and lumber building. How about I want to make it the simplified with the materials that like there's only wood, but perhaps we have like wood. So like the first level is kind of wood mill, and second is like second level like lumber mill, I suppose. But this is going to be when it comes to upgrading the buildings. We are not going to be yet focused on that. We're going to be focusing on the Mesoamerican, putting the faction over here. The idea about the medieval faction is that, and their focus is late game faction. Medieval faction representing Middle Ages with touch of Christian spirituality. Medieval focuses on they have to focus on human on infantry and human-based units. Most I don't know how to really summarize that. Naturally, some of the friends grew the games and medieval culture, but it was not the case, and I felt like a bald ring. However, it didn't last long, and we tried another game just after that. So it wasn't that interesting, I suppose. You know, some of the strategy games in board games are very hard to really focus on, I tell you. They are very hard to focus on, hard to really make stuff there. So idea is now that we have sort of like the world map over here. We are putting information out there. I'm going to be later on focusing on the medieval one. I'm going to be now putting here.
Yeah, feels like an outsider. Been there.
It's like you know, it's a nasty thing about board games. Like it depends on the group. If you just come there and you know they are already into the game, it's nasty to get. It's hard to get in. All players should always start at the same time. It's like Dungeons and Dragons experience. I've sometimes went into game after the game has already been started, and it's not fun, I tell you. So we're going to be doing a tier units over here. I'm going to be starting Mesoamericans with sacrifice. Let me actually go to sort of like what should be our first units on Aztecs. I haven't actually thought on this yet fully. I'm actually thinking about a sort of like Jaguar warrior, and then it comes to like Jaguar warrior.
Non-mythical, secular units. It doesn't exclude cavalry. In medieval times, mounted combat was most prominent.
Of course. Oh, there was of course infantry needed.
When it comes to strategic games. I'm really good with reflex ones, grinning face.
Are you like, this sort of tennis games? I don't know. What are the board reflex games? Are there reflex games in board games? There's this one card game that was like a very action oriented.
Like actions and puzzle stuff.
The non-mythical secular units. Yeah, that's the idea for the medieval faction at least. They are really much, as you mentioned, secular units. Medieval faction represents category with Christian spirituality. They focus on. Let me actually just put it on here better. You actually summed it a little bit better. Okay, it's a. You have an error over here. Gobbits scream when you have a highly reactive, more quickly, etc. Oh, I'm actually going to Google that. I don't know those games, to be honest. What are those? Let me put it over here. You summarized it actually better than me, Whisper Whiskers. Non-mythical secular units. I think that's much better. Non-mythical secular units, if I can use that. Very much appreciate from summarizing that, because I think it's much better than just my summarization.
My friends hate playing reflex games with me smiling face.
Oh man, I hate reflex games as well. There's this card game called Slappy. You have to like slap a card from other people's like the table, and who's the most quickest get all the cards, and man, it's nasty. It's a nasty one. They have to focus on non-mythical secular units and only get spirit from temple buildings, making them vulnerable for, as they only get magic units later on.
Yes, it's about that.
Oh man, I hate those goddamn. This sort of slappy game. I hate it. I even had sometimes, people just slapped on the table and just and it, of course, it's not like deathly damage when someone slaps you in the hand, but it's not. It's I don't know. Board games shouldn't be like just an action packed or something. I don't know. At least for me. For me, it works. So we have warrior. Then we have what units? Let me actually look at the Aztecs. The thing is, we are not looking about cars, I tell you. Aztec culture. I need to I have this book about Aztec culture. I'm going to be learning it much more. But of course, sacrificial things, as you can see. There's a lot of, and actually I led, there's this national book in like this Popol Vuh, this sort of book. Let me actually find it here. Popol Vuh, if I remember right. And it's this sort of like origin story of the like gods and such, and very interesting sort of story.
Jaguar Warrior, you refer to the warriors in animal-themed armor. I'd make them a higher tid. First tier could just be clan warriors, or ritual hunters.
I suppose it could be possible. I think, ritual hunters, clan warrior, I think could be a better word. But I want them to be upgradable sort of fashion. The human units I want to keep kind of a low tier. Because when you go kind of a more forward tier, I want to have like these mythical creatures in there, like the roster. So let me put here, as you mentioned, clan warrior. And Jaguar Warrior, it's kind of like upgradable. Like you can still use later game Jaguar Warriors. They're going to be having, of course, better stats than the normal warriors, and they are still useful to use, I tell you. It's like the baseline of your armies. Then sacrificial. Is this the word? Sacrificial. Here we go. I'm like this sort of slave force. I'm gonna like the thing is I want to have this sort of like they have units sort of like sacrificial units. They can just like do spells, and then their sacrificial unit like dies, and this sort of
recruit like peasant or farmer army.
I suppose I want Possibly. Ah, actually no. Actually no. That's a very good idea to have like very normal like peasants in there in the kind of the early days. Good to have like a regular people there. So let me do what could it be a good peasant word for?
My friend's hands because most of the time my hand is already on their cards before then can put their own hand.
They are very Well, we have here a reaction time expert, Aiko. Well, I don't want to really play any kind of that sort of game against you, man, because I'm just sort of like, everybody has already slapped, and I'm like, what is happening? I haven't played too many of those games. Perhaps I should train myself on those. Who knows? Who knows? But we have like a peasant, sacrificial, clan warrior, a jaguar warrior, and so forth. The idea is that we are now going to be making a clan warrior. I'm going to be making graphics for it. I'm going to be now like Aztec Warrior.
Name them Levis, probably.
Levy, I suppose. I want to make something like eluukkanen like this. They are very lovely. Triple Alliance, Jaguar Warrior, Aztec Soldier, Mexican Captain. Oh, very lovely.
Don't worry, we'll make a team, you and I winking smile.
Yay! Working together. Oh yeah, that's what we do. Now, let's do some artwork over here. We are opening the paint program. I'm opening the peasant unit that I already have done for the... Let me just put on the... Here we go. Let's open the paint window. Peasant unit is in here. Opening, I suppose. Here we go. Let's do some art for the peasants. Let's do some peasant stuff. Yes. Let's open. It's kind of slow for some reason. We are not running many programs, but it's very slow for some reason. A levy? I might be actually looking at later on, like, what is the peasant word for Aztec culture. I'm going to be actually, you know, their languages. I'm going to be looking at that more, because I want to, you know, different peasants have, like, different sort of styles, how they do. I'm going to be making sure that...
They are beautiful as mid to high unit.
Indeed so.
Trophy,
100 messages! We have been streaming for 1 hour and 30 minutes! Good to have all people here. We are doing something interesting, something unique over here.
Here's a fun fact. Those swords they had were stone. Mesoamericans never discovered iron.
That's the interesting thing. They are stone weapons. I like how they're very interesting sort of fashion, like the stones are like on the sides of themselves. Like it's very interesting. They were advanced in some things, but at the same time, they have been on the same spot quite a long time, I tell you. So we're going to be making now sort of like an Aztec peasant.
England had peasant bowmen, so if they got shot back, they'll run away.
They got shot. Yeah. Yeah, of course, peasants had to be used, you know, in many armies, sort of like as simple units. But of course, in medieval times, knights and those sort of units, they were the sort of the high tiers. High tiers, the important units indeed. Let me actually do another one of these. Putting these. I'm going to be making a peasant unit for the Aztec faction. I'm going to be making it very different from others. So let's make it so. This is the size of it, of course. Here we go. This is a regular European peasant. We're going to be doing a peasant in Aztec things. It's going to be a kind of a half-naked person, I suppose. If we're going to be doing an Aztec peasant. There we go. Aztec peasant. Can we find anything? Nothing. Nothing. Aztec warrior, I suppose. There we go. Let me take some kind of from that style. Let me just look at it. Yeah, I'm going to be making sure that he has this sort of like a white sort of like underbelly thing. Here we go. Let's take the skin color. What is the speciality on your mind on the Aztec peasant? My idea is that it has no specialities. It only gives like, the more peasants you have, if they are in the cities, they give like food bonus. That's the only thing they were going to do. They have no battle bonuses, they are very weak. But if you upgrade them to sacrificial units, you can use them to make magics.
Buildings, though just add bonus to units, only enables high-tier buildings.
Oh, let me actually put over there. Stone bullets, stone buildings. So let me see. With quarry building, used to start bonus units only enables high tier units. That's the thing. You need some of the requirements for some units in order to them to be functional. Indeed, so that's the idea. That's the idea. So Mesoamericans, let's make them kind of authentic looking. They have very often this sort of black hair, black bluish sort of hair. Indeed. You, Aiko, said you are not very good in strategy games. You mentioned. I'm very much my favorite genre is strategy games. I tell you. But a good idea is to have the upgradable sort of building sort of fashion. That's the thing. You have to have that. But let me just make him naked, at least in the beginning. Of course, it's pixels, so that's not very worrisome situation. I'm going to be having him this sort of like kind of the underwear sort of thing. Here we go. And it's constructed from white, like that. We actually make his color of skin a little bit darker.
Wispy whiskers. The basic peasant units should be levies. No sane commander puts peasants on the field without at least basic training and equipment.
Yeah, very true. The idea is that they are not like units essentially like
Not really. In fact, it's just random with me for strategic games smiling.
No, sometimes they need to be randomity in there. Yeah, sometimes. The idea is that, of course, no sane commander would, you know, without training, put any peasants in there. But the idea is that these are the untrainable, like a peasant, like a normal, regular people. Like, that's the kind of the idea on that. And the only bonuses they give if they are in the cities or in the farms and this sort of stuff. If you put these in the farms, they're actually more useful in there, that environment sort of fashion. Yeah, that's the idea at least. And like the thing is, I want to make units that are not battle oriented. I want in the medieval faction, I'm going to make that you can actually have like maids and princesses and as some units. They can be this sort of like a diplomatic agent sort of units. They are not very good in battles, but they can do like these special abilities, you know, charm an enemy unit and this sort of stuff. And I want to do that sort of stuff because, you know, I think that makes games interesting. Not just like everybody is not about physical things, but also about like some more interesting stuff as well. Yeah. Here we go. Mesoamerican peasant. Here we go. Let's give him some tools on his hand. Sort of like perhaps like some kind of a hammer or something. Yeah.
Wispy whiskers. If you throw peasants at the enemy, it means you've run out of better units. Agree. They like retainers and official.
Yeah, that sort of fashion. You know, giving your bonuses in outside of the battlefield and so forth. Like that's the thing. That's very much the thing. Because often strategy games very much go to the what is the most powerful thing in the battlefield, but I want to add some things that what are good outside of the battlefields, of course.
AOC. And there is that game I really enjoy. It is about enigmas you have to resolve. Do you know Black Stories?
What is Black Stories? Let me actually see. Oh, is it a board game? Let me open.
Agree.
Board game.
They add bonus statewide, like add an economy bonus or fighting bonus, etc.
Yeah, that sort of stuff. Yeah, officials, retainers, and that sort of stuff. And that's what you need to have. Let's see. Black Stories, a board game. Is this sort of like a murder mystery? Oh, man. Oh, man, that is nasty. Crimes, corpses, murders! Is it like a... Oh, god damn. God damn, Aiko.
Just type Black Stories.
Black Stories, eh? Nasty, nasty, man. I didn't know that you played these sort of games. Of course, it was kind of fun to do murder mysteries sometimes with this sort of... I had this sort of very cursed game back in the day. Yes, very nasty one that was about torturing people. And I don't know why I just purchased like this was some sort of Inquisition game. But it was just all about different sort of torture tactics. I didn't really like that game, I tell you. I just threw it away. There are different sort of games, I tell you. So peasants, here we go. Peasant, let me put that information we got from here. here. Officials.
I think I've seen one.
You have? Oh. But here we go. A peasant unit, a levy unit, or sort of in for Aztec faction, Mesoamerican faction. They are very much different from regular peasants of European nature, because you can upgrade them to be a sacrificial units. That's the thing. And the sacrificial units are going to be giving you bonus to the spell points, and you can actually just destroy your own units to get spell points early on, or for the mythical heroes. That's the thing. That's the idea. Here we go. This is our lovely unit without any animations, so forth. We can even put that to battlefield if we want to. Here we go. And let's make it bigger. Here we go. This is Mesoamerican Peasant. I think it's it's kind of nice. Yeah. Kind of nice. Good. Let's save that. What are your thoughts on the current progress so far and so forth? Have you played any good board games yourself?
Basically, the game master reads the story.
Mesoamerican.
The picture, the title, and the summary. The others must ask questions. Closed questions only. The game master only says yes / no.
Oh.
Agree. If you are talking about sabotage or espionage, you may want to make agents.
Agent is something I've not yet thought about in mechanical systems yet. Not yet.
The model is nice.
But it's nice. Oh, very nice. It's kind of a simple. It's kind of simple. It works. Let's make Aztec Warrior. This sort of clan huntsman still. Yeah, let's do it. Let's go to the character slots over here. And open the normal warrior that I made for the sort of the normal warrior unit I put for the medieval faction of Europe. Let's change it to be an Aztec Warrior with its proportions. I want to have the similar proportions with all of the units, indeed. It's of course still a long way to go for the game, but along the next upcoming weeks you're going to see, and I'm going to be of course doing a lot of offline work on it. But the idea that I have already a composer for it that is often known for making some orchestral stuff. She hasn't made any video game music yet, so I think he's interested to really put some effort when it comes to like make some lovely tunes over here. I think it would be interesting to see. We shall see. I haven't played in Dungeons & Dragons for some months. I would like to play that at some point more. Here we go. So we have here this sort of warrior. Now let's put him in the front lines of the action. Very simple, as you can see. It's not the best quality, but it still does the job. Now let's put there are placeholders, most of them. Yeah. Here we go. We have here the unit. We're going to copy it. We're going to be making it an Aztec Warrior. The idea is that that in order to win wars, you need a lot of the lower tier units, as they sort of a lot of them. And they are easier to get than the higher tier ones, but the higher tier ones are going to have special abilities that enhance and turn the tide of the battle. But like the basic fighting is going to be made with the basic troops. Let's now open the picture of the Aztec Warrior. Here we go. I'm going to be making he's going to have like this sort of green sort of thing. Let's make him have a green sort of uniform. Let's have him to have the skin color. All this the same, like here we go. Here we go.
Sometimes it's not about death. There are black stories that tell very silly stories.
Oh, is? Oh. I like, you know, so many TV things that they just talk about murder mysteries. I personally am not really fond of always murder when it comes to crime. Like, you can actually destroy someone without just like with actually just being like destroying them economically and such. Even that is a crime. And I think that sort of crimes would be interesting to look at more. Let's make him have this sort of like Like, let's see. So the idea is to have his hair to be this sort of like, it goes to like this. And then there's this sort of like thing in the end, like goes like this. Here we go. The thing about Mesoamerican units, they have very poor defense. And that's why they have the numbers on their side. But their defense is going to be very poor when we look at them. That's the thing. Here we go. Let's open the picture. I think it's and then of course a medieval faction, all the factions, they have a lot of defense as well. I was thinking about. Oh yes.
Concept for Chinese.
Oh please let me know.
Powerful but unstable. You are forced to do counterproductive decisions to secure your dynasty. Otherwise, you
I like that.
And realm fractures.
I like that sort of idea. Yeah.
Me neither. I'm not a fan of murder stories, drugs, alcohol, or dark web. I am more attracted by resolving enigmas.
Yeah. Riddles, this sort of like, and I think there's too many of these sort of like murder. It always goes to murder. That's like the pen ultimatum thing in crime. But I tell you, there's actually more interesting crimes. Like imagine someone like just stealing. Actually, how to do his hair? He says like it goes to like here, then it goes like this, and then there's this sort of like how to do it? Let's see. So there's this sort of. Let me actually look at the picture at the same time. There's this sort of redness in here. I like that what you described, Wispy Whiskers, on the Chinese side of things. They could be very powerful, but they would be their worst enemy of themselves. And that would make them very interesting faction. You have to do, as you mentioned, a lot of things to secure your dominion in order to really win this whole thing. Yeah, I like that. I like the idea. Here we go. So we have here their hair. With essentially it goes from this point. Let's save them their face a little bit from this side. This side like this. I like it because then it would make those decisions that you take we could actually make Chinese very good. Like they could actually. With the magic side of things, they would be one of the most strongest. No, I don't know, have you read about, and also in army-wise as well, because they are, the art of war and such is a very big thing.
Jellyduck 100.
Jellyduck! Hello there, hello there, Jelly, good to see you.
Elias, how about handling materials, which are in every faction use? Units are faction specific, so probably developed later.
About handling materials, which are every faction use. I'm going to be trying to make that all factions use similar materials. I'm going to be trying to make some of the resources to be like that were very commonly used and were thought to be holy. Like let's say, what was the sulfur? That was thought to be a holy material in so many cultures and such. I'm going to be, you know, perhaps have some kind of a similarity to each other, because I want that all factions want like same resources. They're fighting for the same things, but of course they use them all differently. That's the idea, at least. How do you do this Mesoamericans? Let's put them like
oh man, I have that girlfriend who loves watching horror movies or aims alone in the dark. We love her because of that, but I will never understand her.
I don't really get that either. Like, I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of those. You know, these sort of things that you have to, you know, the murder psycho is just on your, like, just all the times chasing you and that sort of like. I think the real life is all actually more terrifying, to be honest, in many of the aspects. You know, there's
also game mechanics and everything. Whisker's idea may be easily implemented if already have foundations.
Let's see. Wispy concept of Chinese. Yeah, the thing is, this is always a discussion. I'm going to be implementing on many of the things discussed over here, because the thing is, in game development you can actually implement some stuff. But of course, do keep in mind it will take some time in order to make these things ready. It will take some time. Because, of course, I just started the whole thing. But I know that there's an itch of strategy games, and I think this might succeed if done well enough. I know that there are many people who want strategy games more in the world. Here we go. So we got like this. And let's make that this sort of hair end in here go a little bit upwards. Some people really like horror things because they perhaps want to get some kind of danger sort of feel, I don't know.
And when I browsed some of her manga books, I saw things fearful face.
Oh man.
Whiskers.
Oh man.
The reason for the stability could be too little focus on mundane and too much on mythical.
I like it.
Focus could be to summon a dragon.
Yeah.
Abundance
of
and
course.
For the commoners.
The idea is that, yeah.
I don't like horror games, but I like people screaming because of it.
I never really play much horror games. If you want to play some interesting horror game, which is actually fearful and at the same interesting, try Alien Isolation for, I think it's all systems now, you can purchase it. Alien Isolation, I really like that. It's you know, if you know Alien games, it's really terrifying. And it's not this blood and gore, it's actually like a mind sort of trickery sort of thing, yeah. And also there's a lot of puzzles and that sort of stuff. I swear she's a real fan of, let's see. I like the dragon utilities in the end. I'm actually copy that at the same time. Let me copy it. Also, some background music. If you have any suggestions, let me know. I'm gonna be actually opening. Let me just have a. It suggests Morrowind music. Let me just have Morrowind music over there then. Morrowind. Let's finish up our Mesoamerican Warrior. I think it looks pretty nice. Let's go back to here. Here we go.
If you want good manga, read Akira.
What is Akira? Akira manga. Let's see. Well, we are of course going to finishing up our little warrior. It's going to have this sort of dark green suit. The thing is that I want to make the buildings like the ball game court. If you know, like in the Aztecs, they have these ball games that, you know, the one who won actually were sacrificed sort of fashion.
Especially when I was 8, I read a manga in which a girl got beheaded by a man who wore a rabbit mask.
I remember you have mentioned that before.
I didn't like mangas from the beginning.
Oh man.
But with some her mangas, even worse, face with cold sweat. Aiko. What is
yeah, I've seen some dark mangas, I tell you. But Akira seems interesting. What is there? Let's see. Okay, there's a lot of explosions. I like the drawing style. Yeah.
Or maybe if it's easy for you to design.
It's a Japanese cyberpunk manga series written by illustrated by Kashiro Otomo. It was initially serialized in the pages of Young Magazine, Seinen Manga Magazine. Oh, I see. Some cyberpunk, eh? That sounds lovely. Or maybe it's easy for you to design a charm model. That's okay too. The thing is, we're gonna be implementing things later on, of course. It's still in.
Akira is crazy.
Oh, crazy? How so? I want to have the pattern from this painting, the skull painting stuff over here. Let me make it so. They actually made, like, the warfare with these people, they were very ritualistic.
I am not really a fan of Japanese culture, to be honest.
You are not?
Try again.
You are not? Oh, wow, so please let me know. The many people would be disagreeing. Like, I'm personally, I like some aspect, but I know what you're meaning. Like, some of the Japanese stuff is crazy in like some of the aspects of it, but still, like, there's some good stuff in there. I personally believe, at least. Here we go, some Aztec Warriors in. I'm going to be doing a lot of like priest sort of things in the Mesoamerican. They have like sun priests and wind priests. They can like do a different sort of magics, much more early game, and they are very effective on that. And they have abundance of spirit they can actually get from sacrifices at the same time. But the problem with that, and it's kind of two-handed sword. If you take too many of your peasants down with sacrifices, then that's bad. The thing is that you can get more sacrifices if you like get more sacrificial people if you like attack other places and conquer them. So they are very aggressive faction. Yeah, I've seen these coyote warriors at the same time. Yeah, I want to actually add them at the same time. Yeah. But now, let me add here the skull pattern.
A cream. Ha ha yeah Juji Ito.
Junji Ito. Yeah, the Japanese are weird creatures, but you know, they have some lovely things. Of course, I personally don't know anyone yet from Japan myself, cannot really say on too much of them.
It's the defining manga and aim. You could say almost all that followed is commentary for Akira.
Ah, I see. How so? Let me know. Actually put here a little bit more green.
Pretty good horror comic he make.
Horror comic? Oh man. Like, the Japanese drawers, like, they can draw so well, I tell you. They are very excellent when it comes to that. I'm actually going to making so that when we have the people on here.
Lovely smiling face with
of course. Very lovely people. Actually, I was mistaken. I do know one Japanese people. Few Japanese people. This sort of, there's this few scientist people that I met. Very lovely indeed. The society is very interesting. And nothing to really criticize them on. But of course, there are some inner problems in their society. But of course, Japanese are always going to be successful. That's the thing. Like, whatever that is going to happen, if the robotics are going to take them, even still, they're going to be successful. That's the thing. Japanese know what they're doing. And there's some good stuff in Japanese culture. I like the fact that in at the same time, you know, some say that Japanese school education is bad. But I like the fact that actually they like teach for people, like they actually clean the school and do this sort of stuff more, and have the emphasis on it, sort of like fashion, to kind of teach the children to kind of like people have to take care of that, and I suppose that's alright. Some might say like that's a crazy thing, kids shouldn't really do that, they should focus on the studying, I suppose.
Agreed.
Yes.
Their art have good balance from cartoony to realistic.
They know good stuff, yeah. But I've just seen so many anime things just lately, I cannot stand too much of it. And so generic ones at that.
Who doesn't have problem in their society?
Yeah, that's true.
Wispy whiskers. They follow the same themes and subjects, like in Dragon Ball Z, the rivalry between Goku and Vegeta.
Yeah, they usually, it's interesting if you look at the animes and such, the big emphasis is on the fighting in these sort of shonen mangas, like who's going to be the strongest sort of fashion. Like my brother likes a lot of the One Piece manga, the manga that has been just like forever there, and yeah, that sort of stuff. Let me put it like it's kind of like a made out of stone sort of fashion. Here we go. Let's put it like that. But that's very true. All societies have problems. Here we go. That is an Aztec Warrior, ladies and gentlemen. I do like that. I kind of like that, yeah. It's very different to the European Warrior.
Yes, lately, aim is
I like it.
mediocre. C. By the way, talking about Japan. A couple of years ago, I learned that the first words children learn are not the same according to the countries.
Oh, really? So do you mean like everyone has the same word or different words? Mother is a very simple word everyone often learns. Often.
C. I actually watched the whole Death Note AIM series.
Yeah, I've watched that.
It was outstanding.
Death Note is interesting. I like that. Now let's save this one at the character. Oh, let's not ruin it yet. Here we go. So Aztec Warrior, what are your thoughts? Very simple, you can upgrade this perhaps later on to something else. I'm going to be making later on some priest and such, but we shall see. The main idea for the gameplay we need to implement is the units themselves. I'm going to be showing you how I'm planning to do it. This is the final thing we're going to be doing on this stream, but a very important one at that, I tell you.
Japanese children first learn the vocabulary of politeness. Hello, please, thank you, do you mind?
Of course, it's kind of part of Japanese society. They are in a small island. They need to learn to live with each other. They are very effective with that.
True, and I think it's because they play it too safe. They're afraid of making anything meaningful, because it might not sell.
That's the thing, and also the thing is that it's a culture of tradition. That's the Japanese are big on tradition side of things. At least that's what I understood. Tradition! And that's why there's some innovation sometimes, but usually slower. Yes.
ACOC. Swedish people, if I'm right, first learn verbs like welk, drink, draw, learn, static I would say.
I don't know about that. I don't know about the Swedish culture so much to know about the words they learn. In Finland, I suppose it's like I don't know. I don't actually know the truth about that. What is what are the main things? But here we go. We save them. Let's go back. Let me actually know. I'm interested to hear.
Kids first learn the vocabulary of pleasure, like love, food, drink.
Where did you learn this?
Appetite.
Where can you learn information like this? How did you learn this? So now we got ourselves creatures, such as, let me have it over here. Here we go. Mesoamerican Peasant. And then we have Mesoamerican Warriors. I like it. They already have their own sort of style. Yeah, we have actually doing some good progress today over here. Very good, very good. Hopefully you have enjoyed your time while we have been doing that. Yeah. This game is going to be quite interesting in a sense. If anyone here wants to be involved in the development more, please let me know. In the Discord, so we're going to be actually doing more.
Same character, same almost anything.
Yeah, that's the thing. By the way, Wispy and Cream, you had so good suggestions. If you want to be involved in a planning side of this project, I would actually, if you want to, officially be there, that would be lovely. Because of course, collaboration is the way of way. I already have a few people to collaborate with this project very, very much soon. So if you want to be involved, let me know. That would be lovely because you already have some good ideas on this. But now so many cliches, and one of the things I don't like is the unreality of it. It doesn't feel real, some of the things.
Problem is safe only works so long, people get tired.
Yeah.
They need something to shake things up, to rattle the cage.
That's the thing, otherwise it dies on its own. There's so many of these MMO animes
when you came to France, you might have perceived all the pleasure stimuli, the bon vivant mentality. These help for education.
Oh, really? I did like the food in France. Very lovely food indeed. But look at those units. We have some units ready. Yay! And that is one of the good ones. Good ones. We have mines and so forth. Everything is alright. We have done some progress over here.
Whiskers. I wouldn't be opposed to the idea.
Well, that is lovely. That is lovely.
Discord, I assume.
Discord would be a very much good way to start things off, indeed. Let me actually put a link to there. We have actually had some good activities lately there. Thing is, I think this would... I know that this game would be actually a successful thing. I already have in communities that are with this sort of a strategy game things, and there's not game like this... directly like this being done in some while, so I think there's some kind of satiety for it. Yes. Yeah, yes, I might be interested. Let me work together. That would be cool. That would be cool. Of course, it's still a kind of early. It's just going on the side, but still. Now, what we're going to be doing is essentially looking at the numbers. As I said, this is still in the beginning. So the numbers are small, but we're going to be, of course, working on them, making sure they work and such. And we have now a crashing screen. That's great. Yay! Yeah, they need to shake things up. I see this. I saw this gun anime, and I personally been in army, so I thought, hey, this gun anime might be interesting. And then they were just in middle of the kind of the field and shooting, and no, you don't do that. You are in cover or something. If you are just standing there and shooting someone, what? And they were fighting against professional troops, and I was like, no. in anime, guns is the worst, one of the worst weapon you have. Usually in animes and this sort of stuff, a gun is one of the worst thing you can have on your hands, I tell you. Because guns, I tell you, guns are not, guns are just like a, but then you have swords, you know, they kill everyone instantly. Sword is like, but the gun is just like, it kind of tickles. Not very happy about that. And we are having a problem over here on our hands for some reason. Here we go. This is the idea that we're going to have over here, is the numbers and such. I'm going to be transforming the normal RPG Maker engine into a strategy game and so forth. So here we go. So this is the, these are the enemies. We're going to be actually starting putting them here. I haven't just done some test stuff. Okay, nothing too radical here, but now we're actually going to be putting here some data in on the enemies we already have. Do we have? Actually, we only have Peasant over here. Yeah.
Are you talking about Jamugad?
Not Jormungand. There was this something else. There was this someone else. I hated it. I simply hated it. How much the clock is, though? Oh, over 2 hours already. When unfortunately, I might end the stream on this point. However, I do have to give you the Discord link if you don't have it yet, because we have this very lovely Discord place that I would recommend anyone who's interested on collaboration to come and see what it's about. Let's discuss on this there. Let's communicate and let's do work together, because man, this might be something interesting. I tell you, Cream and Wispy Whiskas, of course Aiko as well. This might be something lovely. Yeah. But of course, many things are going to change. Next time you're going to see this, it's going to be quite different. This is just like an early development sort of fashion. Yeah. Here we go. But hey, thank you for coming to the very stream.
I think it would be interesting to have a faction that doesn't compete for same resources as others. Their gameplay could focus on diplomacy and manipulation.
I would like to have like this interplay of different factions. Of course, they have different focuses on what is their strength, but I would also want them to compete against each other to get certain resources. I was thinking about when this is mundane, myth and magic. Some of the units that you get with mundane need different resources that with some units that you need with the myth. So the idea is that if you get like myth, then you need the different resources. So like even same factions against each other that have different sort of social policies, they are competing against different sort of things.
Like Fezar Federation from Gigaayu.
I suppose. Diplomacy and manipulation could be one of the nation's strengths, but what nations would it be? Let's talk about it later on, of course. Peasant Dominion. Thanks for coming to the stream. We are streaming every day, and I'm going to be next week, of course, putting a time on when we're going to be having always. But hey, thanks for coming. Let's continue making some RPG Maker projects, and wherever you are, however you are, I wish you a good day. Hopefully you enjoyed and discussed. I'm going to be taking Wispy Whisker's text over here still, so I don't miss it. Here we go. Here we go. Thanks for coming. Wherever you are, however you are, I wish you a good day. See you later.